Good afternoon, everyone. This is Terry D'Elia. I'm the Director of Human Resources. Welcome to our 2023 Payroll Processor Year-End Meeting. Can't believe that we're here again with just 5.5 weeks to Christmas and 6 weeks to the end of the year. So thank you for taking your time with us today. Along with me, we have Sandra Clemency, our Payroll Manager, Kathy Merzinski, our Payroll Processor, Cindy Delacqua, our Payroll Support Specialist, and as our special moderator, Charlene Frongzek is going to be helping us today. We have, switch to the next slide. As our agenda, we are going to go over items for a successful year end, reviewing the 2023 tax forms, highlighting important year-end dates, as well as how to handle pay adjustments, hopefully that you will not have after the December 22nd paycheck has been committed. I will be going over updates for 2024. We'll highlight the first entitlement rollover for the new year, and also end with our 2024 calendars and templates. At the end of each section, we will take questions and answers. So if you would please use the Q&A rather than the chat feature, we will make sure that we get to you at the end of each section. Without further ado, because I know your time is precious, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Sandra Clemency, and she will start with the checklist items required for a successful year end.
Thanks, Terry. Every year, it's important to review critical checklist items to guarantee a successful year end. Our presentation today covers a lot of information concerning year end and preparing for 2024. Again, for this year, we have put together a payroll processor's year-end checklist to assist you with meeting important year-end tasks and deadlines, most of which will be covered in today's presentation. The checklist begins with tasks and deadlines for November, so it's important that you promptly print it out. This checklist has been posted in Excel format to Freshdesk to give you the ability to add additional year-end tasks that are specific to your location. Now let's take a look at some important auditing items that you should have been performing throughout the year, but if you haven't done so yet, you will need to review before the last check processing in 2023. Before committing each payroll, it's important to review the Preview Payments tab on the Pay Run Management screen in Payroll. This audit is a quick and easy review, validating that only your legal entity is listed. Shown here is an example of what seeing an additional incorrect legal entity looks like. This is the payroll for St. Michael, but Our Lady of Good Counsel is listed and should not be. If you see a legal entity listed that is not yours, please contact payroll support immediately and do not commit your payroll until we've had time to research and make corrections. This issue occurs usually when rehiring an employee incorrectly or when choosing the wrong work location on the employee's work assignment. Accepting a payroll with a legal entity which is not yours creates issues with the payroll funding, the employee's issued paycheck, their W-2, and their Dayforce record. Just a reminder that there is a new option in Dayforce where you can review any 30 to 180 day outstanding checks without the need to go to IAM to run the Payment Solutions report. Directions on how to use the filter in this new post-commit management tab in Payroll has been previously sent out as well as posted to Freshdesk. Remember that it's important to perform this review throughout the year and to reach out to any employee that has not cashed their check after 30 days and ask them to do so if they still have the check in their possession. If they don't have the check, a replacement check out of accounts payable will need to be written to the employee for the net amount. A request to Ceridian Payment Solutions will also be needed to place a stop payment on the check, as this will return the funds to your location. Remember that once a check is outstanding for 180 days, it becomes a stale dated check, and Ceridian will at this point automatically void the check and return the funds to your location's bank account. When this occurs, an accounts payable check needs to be written to the employee for the net amount and should never be voided in Dayforce. If you cannot locate the employee to pay them, hold onto these funds as escheatment wages, and if not claimed, eventually will need to be turned over to the employee's resident state. To avoid these extra steps, it's better to be proactive prior to the 180 days. Last week, payroll support did reach out to locations who had 30-day and older outstanding checks to assist you in resolving any issues prior to year end. If you have incorrectly voided any stale dated checks in Dayforce, please contact payroll support promptly so we can reverse the voided entry, as these wages are still due the employee and are reportable on their W-2. A successful year-end starts with validating payroll data with the first paycheck each January. If you reconcile wages and taxes after each payroll, then quarter to date, then year to date throughout the year, there'll be no surprises at year-end. Tax returns and W-2s will be free from errors, and there'll be no need for corrected W-2s and costly amended returns. Remember, Ceridian only remits taxes and files returns on our behalf with the data we've provided them from processing our payrolls. They are not validating our data for us, as that is our job. The IRS's position is that tax liabilities and reporting requirements continue to be the responsibility of the employer, even if they outsource their tax filings and payments to a third party like Ceridian. Your reconciliation should become a permanent record saved with your quarterly and yearly reports. The IRS may even require your reconciliation worksheets be provided to them if they find that your quarterly 941 form totals are not balancing to your W-2 form totals. So what exactly is a payroll reconciliation? Performing a payroll reconciliation is a way for employers to keep track of withholding and depositing of taxes, taxable wage calculations, and validation of Ceridian prepared tax returns. It helps prevent out-of-balance conditions and ensures the amounts withheld, deposited, paid, and reported on agree with each other. Performing reconciliations regularly after each payroll allows for the correction of wage and tax discrepancies with time to spare before the process of preparing and filing quarterly and year-end returns. As I mentioned already, this will save you time and money in the long run from having quarterly and year-end disasters. In Freshdesk, you can find a reconciliation Excel spreadsheet template to assist you with this effort. After each payroll, you will record pre-tax deductions, tax withholdings, and taxable wages into each monthly tab from the total pages of your payroll summary report. The monthly totals then automatically populate into one of the 4 quarterly tabs on the worksheet, and then totals from the 4 quarters populate into the year-end tab, and the year-end totals then populate to the W-2 tab. Approximately 45 days after the end of the quarter, Ceridian's final quarterly tax returns will be available on the Ceridian tax website. Make sure you're going into IAM, DOS, and then tax images to download your reports and your year-end tax filing reports with your payroll, and compare them with your payroll reconciliation, quarterly, year-to-date, and W-2 tabs. Any found discrepancies in your reconciliation, any tax notices received or balance as you go, and tax code fallout notifications need to be sent to payroll support promptly so we can assist you in resolving them before the last check processing of 2023. For additional assistance with completing your payroll reconciliation, please review the recorded payroll reconciliation presentation, which can be found on Freshdesk. With every payroll commit, payroll support looks at a diocesan-wide U.S. wage and tax error report and reviews it for quarter-to-date and year-to-date employee wage and tax issues. We investigate and resolve any issues before the next payroll commit. Please validate that we have addressed all errors, as we want to make sure that any and all issues are resolved prior to the last payroll commit of the year. To see if you have any outstanding wage and tax messages, go to the payroll module, then archive reports, and open the errors only wage and tax report, which is the 1-page report. All corrections need to be processed in the next payroll cycle. However, prior period adjustment off-cycle runs can be created if a correction processed in the next payroll would cross quarters. For example, voiding of a check that was issued to a terminated employee in error. Voiding the check in the next quarter would create negative quarter-to-date wages and withholdings. These off-cycle runs need to be completed by the last Friday of the quarter, except for the 4th quarter, which would need to be completed by January 3rd. If the off-cycle run is completed after the last Friday of the quarter or after January 3rd, amended returns will be needed. Not correcting errors timely can result in the need for a W-2C, which is the form used to correct a previously submitted W-2, amended quarterly and year-end returns, which all can cost you penalties, interest, and additional fees. If you need to create an off-cycle adjustment run, please submit a ticket in Freshdesk to request one be set up for you. Tax code fallouts are tax liabilities that Ceridian Tax Service cannot process because the tax code is inactive, is invalid, or needs to be set up on your tax code profile with them. Each time your payroll tax data is submitted to Ceridian Tax Service, compares the received data to your tax code profile. Tax data that does not correspond to your profile is held in a suspense account and is not deposited until they receive documentation from you or your tax account number and assigned deposit frequency. A lapse in providing this information may generate agency notices, the need for amendments, along with penalties and interest and additional fees. Ceridian Tax Service is required to report all liabilities to the tax agency by the check date when they actually occur. Consequently, the longer it takes to resolve and pay these amounts to the agency, the greater the potential for agency penalties and interest for which you will be responsible to pay. This is why it's so important for you to closely review your employee address change requests for any states you do not have a tax account with before accepting it, as state withholding is determined by an employee's primary state of residence. Be especially mindful before accepting any terminated employee's address change request to an out-of-state address when they are still receiving vacation payout. Wait until all their vacation has been paid out before accepting the request. Upon receipt of a tax code fallout notification from Ceridian Tax, please create a fresh desk ticket to forward the notification to payroll support for immediate assistance. If the tax code fallout is for a valid state tax account, so in other words, a state that you have applied for an account with, please let payroll support know and we will respond to Ceridian Tax for you. Just remember that once you receive your assigned tax ID number, promptly send that documentation to us so we can alert Ceridian Tax to remit the tax being held in suspense to the appropriate agency. If the tax code fallout is for an invalid tax account, so one where you have not requested a new state tax account number for, please submit a fresh desk ticket to payroll support stating so, and we will research and if needed, reverse the liability through a day-force adjustment, as well as notify Ceridian Tax on your behalf. We will also fix the employee's tax definition screen to prevent additional fallouts from occurring and advise you on how to avoid this issue in the future. Tax code fallout corrections need to be responded to by the target date on the notification. Responding by the target date will ensure timely quarterly filings. Please note that Ceridian's year-end deadline to resolve issues is December 15th. Please reach out to payroll support by December 8th with any tax issues so we have time to resolve them before the Ceridian deadline. Tax code fallout notifications will continue to be sent on a per pay period basis until the fallout is resolved. Each month you will receive a fallout aging report that summarizes all pending fallout activity for the current quarter. I also would like to mention here that if you receive any state tax deposit frequency change notices, please ensure that you promptly create a ticket in Freshdesk and attach a copy of the notice. We then will forward it to Ceridian Tax on your behalf. If Ceridian isn't updated on your state tax deposit frequency change, they will continue to deposit tax with what they have on file. This could occur late penalty notices from the tax agency that you will be responsible to pay. There are two tabs on the year-end module that you currently have access to. First is the Overview tab, which displays a list of legal entities. We have taken away processor access to the year-end archived reports, as Ceridian has not yet established security access when viewing these reports. However, reports can be manually generated from the reports icon on the Overview screen. The second tab on the screen is the W2C tab. A W2C form is the form that needs to be submitted when correcting an already filed W2. After year-end filings have been completed, the W2C tab will become available on January 5th. This is also when additional 2023 adjustments can start again, but now may require amended returns. The W2 tax form preparation process in the year-end module is performed in a sequential order. Like the payroll module, the circular progress indicator displays the status of year-end processing for your legal entity. When you access the year-end module, you will see that the forms generator will be green already because after each payroll commit throughout the year, the forms generator is automatically run overnight. This process gathers all data changes year to date so you can preview your employees' W-2 forms and year-end reports after each payroll process. After the December 22nd payroll has been committed, the final pay indicator will turn green automatically. It is not necessary for you to run the ready for print filing process in the year-end module because on January 4th, the tax forms will automatically be pushed to the print queue and sent to Ceridian Tax Service for printing on January 5th. At that point, the file and print indicator will turn from gray to green. However, if you do run the ready for print and filing yourself, the indicator will turn from orange to green. If you want to determine when employees will have visibility to their online tax forms, just hover over the status indicator to view the date and time that print and filing was committed. Electronic forms will be available for viewing 7 days from the print date. Each year, Dayforce will start the next year-end process automatically in March, as they assume at this point you are done with the prior tax year. At this time, you can start seeing W-2 information for the current tax year in order to balance first quarter of 2024 year-to-date to the W-2 totals. Before our W-2s are committed for printing, you want to make sure that you have thoroughly audited your data. If you had an off-cycle adjustment run and the W-2 preview had not been run recently, which you can tell by the date and timestamp under the Generated On column, you can run the preview yourself by clicking on the legal entity to highlight it, and then click on the Process Job menu and then Generate Preview. Once the preview data is generated, you can view employee tax forms by clicking the arrow on the top right corner of the screen to open the employee tax statement slide out panel. If you do not select a legal entity, the slide out panel will display all employees across all legal entities you have access to. The left column on the slide out panel contains a list of employees associated with the selected legal entity. To view the tax form, search for and then select the employee from the left-hand column on the slide out panel. A preview of the employee's W-2 will display. The form will have preview printed on the top of the form to indicate it is not the final W-2. Please preview one employee's W-2 form now and validate that box B, which is your federal employer identification number, is correct. Choose an employee from each state you have a tax withholding account with and validate box 15, which is your state tax withholding account number, is correct. In addition, please validate that your legal entity name and address as shown in box C matches how it's registered with the IRS. We want to ensure there are no issues with the acceptance of your location's tax filing. Please have this review completed by December 1st. Each time that you run the Generate Preview process job in the year-end module, validations are performed. Click on the row where the errors or warnings count is greater than 0, then click on the Export Problems icon to export the messages to a CSV file. The errors and warnings must be resolved or reconciled before the printing of W-2s. Unresolved errors will cause incorrect tax forms to be filed and printed. Payroll Support does not perform a review of these messages for all locations after each payroll and has been correcting errors throughout the year. Correcting problems early will prevent Social Security Administration from rejecting any incorrect W-2s. If any W-2s are rejected, it will then be your responsibility to correct and reissue the W-2 for your employees. Ceridian does not do this for us. As mentioned earlier, the year-end overview screen is where you will find the year-end reports icon. Click on the icon to see a list of year-end reports that you can manually submit to run at any time throughout the year. From the year-end reports menu, you will need to generate the final employer copy of the W-2 report after January 4th. We recommend that you run this report and save a copy in your year-end file. On the last page of this report, you will find a summary totals page, which can be used to validate against the W-2 tab of your payroll reconciliation spreadsheet. The year-end delivery package report provides a breakdown of where tax forms will be delivered, as well as provides you with your package tracking number. The report will not show any employees who have consented to electronic-only delivery of their tax forms. It will only show those employees who will be receiving a paper form copy. Kathy will be going over the employee electronic consent process in the next section of this presentation. Make sure you are reviewing your W-2 management report as well. The W-2 management report provides a picture of each employee's W-2 at the time the report is generated. This report verifies the accuracy of your employees' tax statements prior to printing the W-2s. It displays errors such as missing Social Security numbers and or negative year-to-date wage and or tax amounts. Your end-of-year corrections must be entered on the final pay run of the calendar year. The process of committing the final pay run of the calendar year follows the same process as every other pay run, with the addition of the following activity that occurs automatically once you commit your December 22nd paycheck. W-2 and year-to-date totals are based on paycheck dates for the calendar year. Dayforce automatically identifies the last pay run of year for us. A time and date stamp will then appear on the overview screen for the last commit date, confirming the last pay run of the year has completed. Notify payroll support by December 8th of any needed corrections from your payroll reconciliation and or year-end module review. This will give us time to include corrections with the last payroll processing of 2023. Changes, warnings, and errors must be resolved or reconciled before printing of Form W-2 on January 4th. So are there any questions concerning the auditing and reconciling of your payroll for year end?
At this time, there are no questions.
If you should think of any questions further in the presentation, just put them in the Q&A. I'll answer them for you. Now, Kathy will be reviewing the 2023 tax forms.
Good afternoon. The 2023 wage and tax form remains unchanged from the 2022 form. Employees who have received paychecks from January to December 2023 will receive a W-2. The form is used by employees to file their 2023 tax return. Form 1095-C is the employer-provided health insurance offer and coverage form. This form is provided to employees who had medical coverage or were eligible for medical coverage during 2023. All employees will receive a 1095-C form. It's used by the IRS to determine if an employee is eligible for the premium tax credit or as proof of their insurance coverage. Dayforce can house different addresses for employees. Employees have the ability to choose which address they want printed on the outside of their earnings and tax statements by flagging the payroll mailing box for that address. When flagging the display on tax statements box, Dayforce will use that address to display on the actual tax statement itself. If the boxes are not flagged, the system will default to the primary address. Please reference this matrix to troubleshoot any address questions that may be asked by an employee. In box 13 of the W-2, the retirement plan box must be checked if the employee made contributions to the 403B plan in 2023 or was a participant in the diocesan pension plan for any part of the year. You do not need to update this field. The HR team at the diocese is validating and updating this field for you. Employees may come to you and want to know why they received more than one W-2. Some of the reasons why an employee may receive more than one W-2 would be if the employee has wages and taxes for 2023 reported in more than one state, if the employee has wages in more than one legal entity, if the employee has wages in more than one clock number for a legal entity which hadn't been caught and corrected during the year, or if the employee has more than 3 or 4 items in box 12 or box 14. In Dayforce, employees have the ability to print their current and past Dayforce historical W-2 tax forms. Processors can also print copies of W-2 tax forms by going to People, Statements, Year-End Statements, as well as going to the Year-End module. Employees must consent to receiving their tax forms in electronic form only. There is no default setting to opt all employees out at the same time. Employees must opt out or consent themselves. If an employee works in more than one diocesan location, they will need to consent for each of their login IDs. Terminated employees do not have the option to opt out of printed tax forms. However, they still will have access to obtain an electronic copy. Having employees consent to receiving their yearly tax forms electronically can save you on Ceridian fees and postage. Also, there will be no lost or returned forms. The steps an employee needs to follow to opt out of printing tax forms is easy. They simply go to Profile and Settings, Profile, Work Information, Year-End Forms Delivery, and click on the pencil icon where a window opens to edit. Select the check boxes for each tax form the employee wants to receive electronically and click Approve. Printing of the forms is suppressed immediately. Once an employee consents to electronic form delivery, they will receive this email from notify@dayforce.com. Dayforce will send another notification when the electronic tax statements have been posted to Dayforce self-service and are available to download. When forms are available, employees can print their forms directly by going to Earnings and Year-End Statements. Page 2 of the printed form will contain all the same information that the paper form has. Take note that page 2 information is not visible to the payroll processors when viewing forms from the year-end module. Employees have the option to revoke their consent at any time. They simply go back to year-end forms delivery and uncheck the box they previously checked to consent. If you want to know which of your employees have opted to receive their tax statements electronically, you can run the report CDA Employees Opting Out of Printing Year-End Tax Forms by going to Data and Analytics, Reporting, and Reports. Ceridian will start printing W-2s automatically on January 4th, regardless of whether or not you mark them ready for printing and filing in the year-end module. Electronic forms will be available to employees on or around January 12th. Hard copy W-2 forms will be shipped to your location on or before January 22nd. Please note that this is a change from previous years. You can track your shipping package by going to the year-end module overview tab and clicking on the package tracking icon. Don't forget that the IRS requires that W-2s be distributed or postmarked to employees by January 31st. Remember, employees are now able to download their year-end tax forms directly into TurboTax or H&R Block. Ceridian will start printing the employee copy of the 1095-C form on January 19th. Employees will be able to view and print copies of their 1095-C form from Dayforce around January 26th, which is 7 days after the print date. They can find the form under Earnings, then Year-End Forms. These forms will also be shipped out to your location by mid-February. The 1095-C form must be distributed or postmarked to the employee by March 1st, 2024. This is another change from previous years. Please note that you will not be receiving an archived report of employees' 1095-C forms. Please direct employees to Dayforce where they can obtain a copy of their form. If an employee should have a question concerning their 1095-C form, they should send an email to 1095csupport@arlingtondiocese.org. The IRS requires employers to notify employees when their electronic W-2s and 1095-Cs are available. The diocese intends to fulfill this requirement by sending out this notification to all employees on your behalf via the Dayforce Message Center. This notification will show up in your employee's Dayforce Message Center and in their verified email account. Please take note that the Ceridian print fees have increased from last year. You will begin seeing additional year-end fees on your monthly Ceridian bill. You are not billed separately for year-end federal and state tax filing fees or the year-end solutions fees. These fees are part of your monthly per employee subscription fee. Are there any questions?
At this time, there are no questions.
Now Cindy will go over important year-end dates and deadlines.
Since year end is such a busy time for everyone, it is important that we plan ahead to ensure that we have set enough time aside to focus on and accurately process our last paycheck of 2023. In the next few slides, I'm going to go over important year-end dates and deadlines. With year-end comes year-end or Christmas bonuses. Terry sent an email to pastors and principals providing them with helpful suggestions about awarding year-end bonuses, whether in the form of wage or non-wage payment, such as a gift card. The email encourages them to give you sufficient time to fit bonus processing into your payroll processing schedule. We highly recommend bonus payments are processed no later than with the December 8th paycheck. Also, be on the lookout as we will be sending a payroll bulletin providing payroll processors with instructions and helpful hints on how to process year-end bonuses and gift cards. The most efficient and less labor-intensive way to process year-end bonuses is to include the payments with regular wages. Remember that Dayforce allows you to keep quick entries to a future payroll, so do not wait until the last minute to enter bonus payments. That way, if there are any issues, we have sufficient time to assist you. The deadline for the November 24th payroll commit is Monday, November 20th at 5 p.m. due to the Thanksgiving holiday on November 23rd being a banking holiday. Here is a calendar which shows important tasks and deadlines. You can also find this calendar posted on Freshdesk. The central administrative offices will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday beginning Wednesday, November 22nd at noon through Friday, November 24th. The phones and Freshdesk tickets will not be answered during this time and voicemails will not be checked. Please remember that the timing of when you commit your payroll will determine when your paper paychecks will be delivered. If the November 24th payroll is committed on Friday, November 17th, your paychecks are estimated to be delivered on Tuesday, November 21st. If you commit your payroll anytime between Saturday, November 18th through Monday, November 20th, your paychecks are estimated to be delivered on Wednesday, November 22nd. So we highly encourage that you commit your payroll as early as possible on Monday, the 20th, so that the paychecks are received prior to Thanksgiving. Please be sure to plan ahead and prepare for delivery of your Ceridian payroll package. If you require any changes be made to the delivery of your payroll package, you will need to contact your carrier directly to make such changes. Unfortunately, Ceridian will not be able to change the delivery of your package to a one-day delivery. Should you find that there will be no one available to receive the payroll package, your carrier will send the package back to Ceridian and Ceridian will apply fees for redelivery. Please do not distribute paychecks to your employees prior to payday November 24th. At the CAO, we plan to immediately contact those employees who do not have direct deposit and encourage them to sign up as soon as possible to avoid paycheck delivery issues for the November 24th paycheck. We will remind the employees that they can always request a change or turn off direct deposit if desired in the future. It is imperative that you review all direct deposit changes before approving to avert any bank fraud as previously communicated via payroll alert. We plan to turn off the direct deposit pre-note function for any new hires and employee submitted changes. Notifications are sent to your Dayforce Message Center inbox whenever a direct deposit request is keyed for any new hires or employee submitted changes. At this point, requests should be carefully reviewed before accepting and turning the pre-note off. Documentation on how to turn off pre-notes can be found in Freshdesk. If the employee refuses to elect direct deposit and someone will be in the office to receive the payroll package, have them mail the check to the employee. Mailing the check is the preferred method so that the employee won't try to cash the check prior to Friday, November 24th. If the employee refuses to elect direct deposit and no one is going to be in the office to receive the payroll package, create an on-site check using the mark as payout option for the employee during the current payroll processing. Then issue an accounts payable check and mail it to the employee. If you do not use the mark as payout option when creating the on-site check, you will need to remember to key additional quick entries during the November 24th payroll processing to zero out the auto-generated salary or timesheet generated system paychecks. Failing to do so will result in a paper check being printed. Documentation on both zeroing out the auto-generated salary and using the mark as payout option when creating an on-site check can be found on Freshdesk. If you usually hand deliver paper checks to your employees and you will be closed on Friday, you should inform them now that their November 24th paycheck will be mailed to their homes. You should never distribute paychecks to employees prior to payday for the following reasons. Since our paychecks are drawn off Ceridian's bank account, paychecks will not be honored if deposited or cashed prior to payday. Checks deposited prior to payday will be denied. Ceridian charges your location a fee for each check that is deposited early and denied for payment. You will need to contact Ceridian Payment Solutions directly if an employee's check is denied in return. This also causes inconvenience for the employee. The employee may have a difficult time recouping their pay, especially if your office is closed the day after Thanksgiving, and the employee could possibly bounce checks for insufficient funds and incur additional bank fees. All active employees will receive this notification of the year-end informational memo through the Employees Message Center in Dayforce. Employees who have their email verified in Dayforce will also have this notification sent to their verified email account. Once the notifications have gone out, payroll support will post a payroll alert in Freshdesk letting you know that the notifications were sent, with a suggestion that you send a message to your employees alerting them to check their Dayforce Message Center. It's time again for those required annual federal and state tax notifications that we need to provide to employees. The IRS requires each year that we remind employees to submit a new W-4 if their marital status has changed or will change in the next year. Also, Virginia and Maryland have annual notification requirements to employees regarding their earned income tax credit. By sending out the employee year-end informational memo by December 1st, we'll have met these notification requirements. Not all employees are required to complete a 2024 W-4. Existing employees with a valid W-4 form on file are not required to submit a new W-4. Dayforce will continue to calculate and withhold taxes in accordance with the elections on file. However, employees hired or rehired after January 1st, 2024, or submitting tax changes in 2024 must use the new 2024 W-4. Also, employees who claimed exempt in 2023 and will continue claiming exempt from withholding are required to submit the new 2024 W-4. The IRS requires that every year we reach out to any lay employees and clergy who claim exempt from withholding and remind them that they must submit a new tax form for the new year. All federal tax records claiming exempt in Dayforce have an effective end date of February 15th. To ensure that the employee's exempt status does not expire, you must ask that a new 2024 W-4 form claiming exempt be submitted between January 1st and before the blackout begins for pay period 4. If a new exempt form is not submitted by the beginning of blackout for pay period 4, Dayforce will begin withholding tax on the February 16th paycheck based on the last valid W-4 you have on file for the employee that does not claim exempt from withholding. If one does not exist, withholding on the February 16th paycheck will be as if they claim single with no other adjustments. If a new exempt W-4 form is received after the payroll processing for the February 16th paycheck, per the IRS instructions, do not refund any withheld taxes while the exempt status was not in place. Have the employee submit the new 2024 W-4 form online in Dayforce. If you have employees still submitting paper tax forms, we suggest that you submit the electronic tax form in Dayforce on the employee's behalf. Sign the form by keying the phrase "entered from paper form submitted by employee," as shown in red on the bottom of this slide. Ceridian has programmed a field on their electronic form for the employee to key the word exempt, as IRS instructions for the paper form is to write exempt in the space under line 4C. This slide shows Virginia, Maryland, and DC's annual requirements for completing new tax forms for those employees claiming exempt from state tax withholdings. It is important to remember that when any new exempt Maryland tax forms are submitted, you will also need to go to the Maryland local tax code found on the employee's tax definition screen in Dayforce and check the box next to exempt tax only, update wages. When an exempt state tax form is submitted for the state of Maryland, Dayforce will automatically generate an end date to the tax record. Whereas for the state of Virginia, Dayforce will not automatically end date the exempt tax record, but Virginia does require a new exempt tax form be submitted each year. To make certain that you are in compliance, if the employee does not submit a new tax form, you will need to manually key an effective end date to the employee's record in Dayforce. To ensure that the employee's exempt status for state tax withholding does not expire, a new exempt tax form should be submitted between January 1st and the beginning of blackout for pay period 4. Remember, when submitting a new state tax form on an employee's behalf, follow the same procedure I just mentioned for submitting the federal tax form. To assist you in identifying which employees are claiming exempt from federal and/or state tax withholdings, you can run the report named CDA, Fed, and State Tax Exempt Report, All Employees in Dayforce. Documentation with instructions on how to run and read this report can be found in Freshdesk under the Dayforce Payroll section of Knowledge Base. Remember, for a quick find, use the search bar in Freshdesk and just search the report name. We will be sending a reminder to payroll processors on December 20th to run this report. We encourage you to send out an email to your staff requesting that they validate key information in Dayforce before year-end creation of W-2s and 1095-C tax forms. As a reminder, no special characters should be used when keying the name or address fields in Dayforce. Doing so will cause the IRS to reject those 1095-C forms. As a processor, you have the ability to reject any address or name changes if the change contains any special characters or if the address change was not added and is in fact overriding the pre-existing address record. A payroll alert will be posted to the forums and sent tomorrow with a sample email and instructions to assist you and your employees with this effort. Now let's take a closer look at the December calendar. The employer health saving incentives will be added to Dayforce and will process with your December checks. A payroll alert will be sent soon and will include instructions on how to validate the total amount of employer health savings incentives added to your payroll prior to accepting your December payrolls. Employer paid incentives and employee contributions to the health savings accounts must be reported on the W-2 in box 12 with code W. Don't forget to include the employer incentive amounts with the employee's contribution on your payroll reconciliations monthly tab for the month of December on line 42. After committing the November 24th paycheck, report any payroll reconciliation issues to payroll support as soon as possible so that we can include any needed corrections with the December 8th or December 22nd paychecks. Ensure that all Ceridian tax notifications you've received have been addressed and all 2023 voids and on-site checks have been entered into Dayforce before December 15th. The committal deadline for the last paycheck of 2023 will be on a normal schedule and must be committed no later than Tuesday, December 19th at noon. This is also the deadline for employee submittal of changes to the 403B and HSA contributions for the first paycheck in 2024. Keep in mind that blackout will start up again on December 25th through your payroll commit of the January 5th paycheck. Therefore, all employee maintenance should be keyed prior to the December 25th date. Note that December 29th is the deadline for employees to opt in for electronic only delivery of the W-2s and 1095-Cs. If you plan on being on leave and will not be in the office to distribute the December 22nd paychecks, follow the same procedure as discussed for the November 24th paycheck. If paychecks are received before December 22nd, please do not distribute them to your employees prior to payday. As discussed earlier for the November 24th paycheck, you should never distribute paychecks to employees prior to payday because of Ceridian's positive pay process. The central administrative offices will be closed from December 25th through January 1st. This includes payroll, HR, and the employee benefits office. Fresh desk tickets, phone calls, and voicemails will not be monitored or returned during December 25th through January 1st. However, in case of a payroll emergency, the payroll support office will monitor Fresh Desk for a limited time on December 27th and 28th. From 8 to noon on these days, payroll will respond only to payroll processors who have an urgent issue that cannot wait until we're back in the office on Tuesday, January 2nd. Do we have any questions?
There is one question. How do you access Fresh Desk?
There's a link in Dayforce on the hub.
For payroll processors.
For Fresh Desk, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a link.
Under the payroll processor role.
Also,
So just to be clear, there could be other people in the
On here.
payroll processors on this webinar.
Right.
So the only individuals who have access to Fresh Desk are your payroll processors. Those are the employees who have the profile or the role of processor in Dayforce. On the main screen in Dayforce, on the right and a little ways down, there is a link to Fresh Desk, and processors should already know what their username and password is. If you're a payroll processor and you've not ever accessed Fresh Desk and you don't know what your username or password is, please reach out to payroll support and they'll provide it to you. If you're a business manager who is not a payroll processor, you'll need to work through your payroll processor.
also, the notifications that we send out. So example, earlier today, there was 2 notifications that went out as reminders of this webinar. If you click on the subject line of that email, it will take you to the Fresh Desk site.
The blue, yeah, it's in blue.
Right. Okay.
No other questions?
Okay.
Now Sandra will go over how to handle pay adjustments after the December 22nd paycheck, has been committed.
Due to holiday and office closures and other year-end processes, there will be no off-cycle runs producing pay for year-end 2023 after the December 22nd paycheck has been committed by December 19th. Therefore, it's critical that you allow enough time to validate and audit your last paycheck processing of 2023 very carefully prior to committing it, as it will be difficult to provide corrections promptly to your employees. With that said, if you do discover that a pay adjustment is needed after your final paycheck of the year is committed, keep in mind that the issuing of a W-2C to that employee may be required, as well as amended returns. If you discover that you grossly overpaid somebody, contact Ceridian Payment Solutions immediately. You will need to submit a form requesting a direct deposit deletion or reversal or a check stop payment directly to Ceridian Payment Solutions, either by fax, email, or online in Ceridian Tax. Search in Fresh Desk for the document entitled Overview of Ceridian Payment Solutions in Ceridian Tax and go to the section titled How to Make Requests to Payment Solutions for additional information. Ceridian Payment Solution forms are also posted to Fresh Desk. Do not void this check in Dayforce after requesting the stop payment with Ceridian Payment Solutions. Please reach out to payroll support on January 2nd for further direction and guidance on how to correct the employee's W-2. The steps on this slide are reserved for payments to employees who did not receive a check at all or whose check was substantially less than owed for the December 22nd paycheck. First step is to key any needed timesheet adjustments to the employee's timesheet in Dayforce. Then give the employee a loan in an amount that will cover the employee's needs until Tuesday, January 2nd. You should discuss the appropriate amount with the employee. If the employee did not receive a check at all, the amount should not be greater than the employee's regular net pay. If the employee received a check, but it was substantially less than owed, the amount should not be greater than the gross wages minus 25%. The check must be reproduced out of accounts payable and be dated for December 22nd, 2023. Then on Tuesday, January 2nd, process an on-site check in Dayforce for this employee in pay period 1, 2024 for the entire amount owed from the December 22nd check. Enter January 5th, 24 as the check date in Dayforce. Select retro under the mark as payout column. This will tell Dayforce to pull in timesheet adjustments you just keyed. Then calculate the onsite check. Check the earnings and edit deductions as needed. Remember to deduct any loan amount given by using the Loan Without Limits deduction code. Click Calculate. Review the check for accuracy. Only print the onsite check if the resulting net pay is 0 or greater. If the results of the onsite check is greater than 0, provide the employee with an accounts payable check for the net amount due and dated January 2nd, 2024. These wages will be reported in 2024. If the results of the onsite check shows that you overpaid the employee, do not print the onsite check. Please contact payroll support on January 2nd for further guidance. If you did not use the Marcus payout option when processing your onsite check, you will need to make additional quick entries during the payroll processing for the January 5th, 24 paycheck. These quick entries are needed to stop retro timesheet adjustments from affecting this employee's next system check. The quick entries will zero out the retro pay from being added to this employee's next paycheck, since you already accounted for the retro timesheet pay changes when processing the onsite check. Please reference document How Do I Stop Timesheet Retro Pay from Being Processed, posted to Freshdesk, or contact payroll support for assistance. If you discover that you need to void a check that was issued in 2023 and you already accepted your last payroll of the year, do not enter any voided checks or voided direct deposits issued in 2023 or prior in Dayforce once you have committed your December 22nd paycheck. Wait until January 2nd to contact payroll support for instructions, and we will assist you in entering a year-end off-cycle adjustment run. Voided checks needed after January 3rd will require issuing a W-2C and possible amended returns. The W-2C process in Dayforce is located in the year-end module and becomes available on January 5th. Please reach out to payroll support to help you with this process. Please note that W-2C forms are not available for printing until January 16th. Ceridian doesn't print or distribute any W-2C forms. Once payroll support has created your W-2C, we will contact you and let you know how you and your employee can access and print the W-2C form from Dayforce. We will report the W-2C to Social Security Administration for you. We will then provide you with directions on how to submit the W-2C to the employee's withholding state. W-2Cs created very early in January may not require an amended return. Are there any questions concerning processing pay adjustments after December 22nd payroll commit?
There is one question.
Okay.
When will the 2024 payroll calendar be available?
They are posted today, and well, no, they've been posted for a few days, right?
They're in Freshdesk.
Yeah, they're already out in Freshdesk.
The templates and in the additional resources section of the knowledge base.
Right, and it's in numeric order, so it'll be underneath the 2023 calendars. I'll be right on top. Okay, now Carrie will cover updates for 2024. Thank you. Okay.
I think we covered this last year, but as a reminder, there are a number of states that have implemented legislation that requires employers to file not only federal copies of the 1095-C, but now the state copies as well. And these are for employees who actually lived in these states for any part of the year. If you have employees like that, Ceridian will handle that additional filing for you at year end. However, if you do not have a tax account established for that state, Ceridian's not going to be able to meet that obligation until you do so. So it is important for you to have an idea of the lived-in states for any employee, not just those who are active, but any of those who actually had wages during 2023, and make sure that you do have tax accounts established. When Ceridian creates a 1095-Cs, they look at the employee's contact information for their primary address. And even if that person only had that address active for 1 day or a week, they will still create a 1095-C for that state. We've been hearing that Maryland is likely to follow this same process. So if you have employees, active employees who are living in Maryland right now, and you do not currently have a tax withholding account in Maryland, we strongly suggest that you get one opened, the sooner the better. Of course, when you open up new tax accounts, that comes with additional fees. Ceridian will have to file those additional state taxes for you or tax forms for you, and that's an additional $10.40 a month for each new state tax account. You're encouraged to contact payroll support if you have any questions about this or you need assistance in actually opening up these tax accounts. It is important that once you open up a new tax account and you get your assigned tax account number, it needs to be provided to payroll support promptly so they can update Ceridian. In terms of FICA tax updates, the tax rates for Social Security and Medicare are remaining the same at 6.2 and 1.45%. What's also remaining the same is that employees who have wages in excess of 200,000 continue to be subject to an extra 0.9% Medicare tax. Employers, however, do not pay that extra tax. The tax base for Medicare wages remains unlimited, but the tax base for Social Security wages actually increased from $160,200 to $168,600, which means that the maximum amount of Social Security tax withholding also will increase by $520.80 up to a maximum of $10,453.20. Every year, the IRS lets us know if the limits are going to be increased for 403Bs, and this year they are increasing by $500. So the new limit for 403B for employees who are under the age of 50 is $23,000. And for those who are age 50 or older, which is the catch-up contribution piece, there's been no increase. That remains at $7,500 for a total of $30,500. For employees who are participating in our 403B plan or wish to participate in our 403B plan, they can enroll, stop, increase, or decrease those contributions at any time, as well as apply for loans or distributions, update their beneficiary information, etc., directly through Prudential/Empower. The website is listed here as Prudential. That will be changing at some time in the near future. For employees to get more information about our 403B, there's links on just by clicking on the benefits icon in Dayforce. And there's a section on 403B, as well as if they scroll to the bottom of the page under files, they can find the 403B plan. The IRS has also increased their limits pretty substantially on the health savings account limits. They're going up by about 7% or slightly over 7%. So those who have single health insurance with the health and savings account option and they're under age 55 can contribute up to $4,150 next year. Those who are single and 55 or older can contribute up to $5,150. And those who are family can contribute up to $8,300 if they're under 55 or $9,300 if they're 55 or older. Employees who want to make sure that they maximize their contributions in 2024 and want to make sure that that starts with the first payroll of the year will need to submit changes or enrollments by December 19th. For HSA enrollments and changes, that's done via a payroll deduction form. That's still a manual process. Those forms do have to be submitted and in the possession of EBO by December 19th. For the 403B enrollments and changes, that's done online with Prudential. Changes submitted after and throughout the year occur in the next available paycheck. To get the payroll deduction form for the HSA, again, employees can go onto Dayforce, click the benefits icon. If they scroll to the bottom of the page under files, they'll be able to find that form. We will be starting open enrollment soon. Rates, the plan itself, as well as the rates will be finalized and communicated in mid to later December. The changes will be effective for you on the March 2024 billing. Changes to life, supplemental life, STD, LTD, VEC, and pension, if any, will be announced in March, so that you have time to budget for that, and they will be effective for the July 2024 billing. We will do benefits open enrollment online again this year. I think this is the third or fourth year that we've done it. Open enrollment takes place the month of January. Changes will be effective on March 1st, and new premiums will begin with the first paycheck of March, which happens to be March 1st as well this year. Everything will be done online. We will not be accepting paper forms, and late enrollments can also not be accepted. Benefits enrollment will be launched effective for January 1st. And when that launch happens, eligible employees, so not just those who are currently participating, but any of those who are eligible, meaning our full-time employees, will be sent a notification to their Dayforce message center. And we'll also be sending out messages to pastors, principals, business managers, and payroll processors because of the importance of this, asking you to remind your employees to look at their Dayforce message center. Also on January 1st, for those who are eligible to participate in open enrollment, if they click on the benefits icon or go to the benefits menu, they'll see under enrollments an open enrollment link or invitation. And that invitation will count down the number of days remaining. As a reminder, the Dayforce Message Center is at the top of the right-hand side of the screen with that image of an envelope. And if employees have taken the steps to validate their email addresses, all messages sent to the Dayforce Message Center will also be sent to those validated email addresses. So we highly encourage employees to do that so that they have less of a chance of missing important messages. And we ask for your help in reminding your employees of this. If at all possible, we recommend employees have a personal and a business email address on file in Dayforce and have validated both. We are, as you've probably heard, Dayforce Message Center spoken a lot during this presentation because we are trying to use the Dayforce Message Center as a means of communication more and more so that we can more quickly reach our target audience and require less of you to assist in that effort. So already the Dayforce Message Center sends automated messages to payroll processors when you're processing your payroll. The open enrollment notifications and invitations to full-time employees is automatic and populates in the Dayforce Message Center. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, we automated the new hire welcome notifications so that all new hires, regardless of the classification, get a welcome letter and then a separate email, message into their Dayforce Message Center of a benefit invitation if they're full-time. We have automated notifications and benefit invitations to employees who changed to full-time. That was just enacted at the beginning of October. And we have automated farewell notifications to all terminated employees, as well as a communication about benefit continuation. Payroll support started last year, and they've been continuing to use this to send all employee notices. They'll use it to send the year-end informational memo on December 1st. They're going to use it to announce the electronic delivery of the W-2 and the 1095-C, any other future tax-related changes. And just today, payroll support sent out what we thought was a really important announcement to all employees regarding payroll diversion fraud and how to make sure that they are very careful about accessing Dayforce and protecting themselves from that kind of fraud. You as a payroll processor can also use Dayforce Message Center to have communications to your targeted staff. You can find documentation of how to use it on Freshdesk. And then also HR, as you know, kicked off our annual harassment prevention training season a week or so ago. And this year we made those announcements through Dayforce. All right, first entitlement rollover. So the rollover of a leave for eligible parish and daycare center employees is going to occur on February 1st. And Ceridian will use the balances in Dayforce as of the end of January to determine those amounts. The process is what you're familiar with, and that first, it's going to look at any vacation or sick time that's submitted for dates through the January 31st to reduce that leave entitlement, then add any new leave accruals, and then apply the rollover limit. As a reminder, the maximum sick leave rollover limits went into effect in September, so employees who have beyond those new maximums will obviously have those forfeited come February 1st. And then lastly, any leave taken on or after February 1st will be applied to the new year balance. Question was already raised about the 2024 calendars. We have a variety of them, and those are already posted on Freshdesk under the templates and forms, as well as the new reconciliation
Template, yeah.
and reconciliation template. It looks like we do have a couple of questions. So Charlene, what do you have?
If you already have an account in the state of Maryland, is there any action required in 2024?
No, if you already have a withholding account established in Maryland, there's no additional action to take.
Yep.
Anybody that you currently have or that you hire that lives in Maryland will be able to have Maryland taxes withheld. And if they need a 1095-C, and if Maryland changes the law and requires that to be a state form, then you'll already be ready.
Okay. Next question. Does the code reconciled contract pay have to be used on the final salary of a teacher whose contract has ended early?
Has to be used.
It's the earning code on the quick entry
Mhm.
to pay out.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be used, but it provides information to the employee and historical information for the processor if you use it.
Right. Right. I mean, technically, all those codes are wages, and wages are wages, and that's what's going to produce, print on the W-2, right? All of the codes that we have are really there to aid you in the processing, and because any code that you use is going to print out on the paycheck stub as well.
Right.
And so it may be helpful for you and for your employee to have a better breakdown. But if you don't use that code and you use something else, it's not going to make a difference in terms of the actual payment or the net pay that's due.
Next question. For employees who are losing medical insurance by December 31st, marketplace, when should they begin the process to enroll so as not to lose coverage?
Okay. Well, so we're in an interesting time period here because employees who are losing coverage or gaining coverage, frankly, from some other source. This would be the time of the year where they might be going through that process because a lot of companies, and as well as the health insurance marketplace, have an annual open enrollment that starts in November with changes taking effect to January 1st. So it's not on the same cycle as ours. When an employee loses coverage or gains coverage, that is generally considered a qualified life event, and that would allow them to make a change in our benefits within 30, as long as they submit that change within 30 days. It will just be weird for these employees because if they do that, they're going to enter our plan, only for a couple of months and at those rates, and then they'll have an opportunity to do open enrollment again in January. I guess, Charlene, you could probably answer this, the sooner that you know that you have either gained coverage or lost coverage, you want to submit a life event declaration in Dayforce and attach the supporting documentation. And as long as that is done within 30 days of that life event, then changes should be able to be made, outside of our open enrollment. If you go to the benefits menu, click on that, and you go about halfway down the page, there's a whole section on qualified life events, which cover these types of things. And it also direct you to the files below where there is a guide that is unique to life events that walks you or your employee through, what is a qualified life event, what form to use in Dayforce, what date to use, and what kind of supporting documentation will be required. Hope that helps. Any more?
Nope. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, Before we wrap up, first of all, I thank you for your patience and your time, because I know this is a lot of material to go through. It's not the most exciting, but it is really, really important. I know we all want to really enjoy our holidays, starting with Thanksgiving next week. And so the more that we can do to have these things, done timely, that will ease some of our stress and allow us to really enjoy the holidays without having to worry about, off-cycle checks and W-2Cs and those types of things. Not in the agenda, but I just want to take just a minute to highlight. I know you have received a number of bulletins and then the Dayforce message that came out today about the payroll diversion fraud. This is real. This is happening to us in the diocese. This is not just like, oh, let's just be careful. It is really happening. We have had a number of things come across from parishes and even here at the central office where bad actors are trying to gain access to employees' Dayforce accounts so that they can usually submit direct deposit changes. But just getting access to the account in and of itself is really a concern, because obviously there's very sensitive and confidential information in there about your employees, as well as your employees' dependents if they're enrolled in benefits. You've got names, social security numbers, dates of birth, emails, phone numbers, addresses, as well as that for all the dependents. So it is so important that we all take, the security for ourselves and for our employees seriously. One of the things that Ceridian is doing, which we are finding really helpful, is they're actually searching the dark web. And if they find any of our employees' credentials to be out on the dark web, they are notifying us so that we can promptly notify you and work with your employees to better protect their Dayforce credentials going forward. They're notifying us of direct deposits that might be submitted for banks that could be potential
Have been used.
before by bad actors. So Ceridian is really helping us in this effort, and we're doing some additional audits ourselves. One of the things that you can do to reinforce this is to make sure that your employees know not to Google the word Dayforce to find the website.
The
This-
login page.
The login page, because there are a lot of fake login pages out there.
Incredible amount. The new list they sent just had 30
30 some sites that they find them, they work to take them down, but then new ones are created. So it's so important that you and your employees have the correct URL. If you have an intranet site or something that's just an employee portal for your employees, perhaps you have that posted there. Make sure that your new hires and your rehires are given the correct link. Whatever you can do to just really key in on that, I think would really behoove your employees and you. So thank you for your attention for that. So this presentation is going to be posted on Freshdesk tomorrow. It has been recorded, but it takes just a little bit more time to actually get the recording posted. So we hope to have that done, the recording itself also posted in Freshdesk within the next week. Once that's done, alerts will be made. Looks like maybe there's one more question.
Yes, when will this PowerPoint presentation be posted
There we
and
go.
available for download?
Well, look at that. So I predicted the answer before, or question before it was asked. Okay, so it will be posted tomorrow, and the actual webinar recording itself, hopefully within the next week. Is there a fourth question?
No, those two were combined.
Those were two. Okay, great. All right, well, if we do not have any further questions, and again, I thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have need any assistance, have any questions, whether it be about this presentation or something else related to HR, payroll, and benefits. Thank you.
Thank you.